Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Happy New Year. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. I'm well. How are you?
Good. Nathaniel, lovely to see you here today, and thank you very much for coming to do this. I think it's for a very worthy cause, and hopefully very informative for those that watch. So this is really all about me asking a few questions about the AJC Coaching Academy 2025, 2026. We've sort of reached that second weekend. Obviously, the information has been dripping through almost daily and weekly to you. Hopefully, you've had time to review and learn and gain everything that you can from it. So um, obviously, we as coaches we spend a lot of money on ourselves to elevate us up to the next level. And obviously, with the AJC coaching, I mean, it's £10,000, for the 6 months. It's a lot of money. And I suppose it's really a case of, it's having a real investment in oneself. Um, what made you consider and commit to doing it?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here, and I also believe it's a worthy cause. Um, I have worked with Ankush before. I first worked with Ankush, I think it was 2018, something like that. And I'd already left my corporate job the year before, and I had two young businesses, a coaching practice without any paying clients, but I was coaching. And I had a business called the Cider Link, which was an e-commerce um, business selling artisan cider in Australia. This was, and I tried to do those, launch those two things at the same time, having never been in business before. And after a year of literally earning nothing, I realised I need to change this situation, and I stopped doing the Cider Link, and I committed fully to going all in on the coaching. And I realised at that point I think I could do with some help because I learned some skills to coach people, and I was getting some really good results, and I was happy with that, and I was enjoying it. But the business side of it was, I just didn't know what I was doing basically. And I've been following Ankush for a little while online, and I come across Ankush through Jamie Smart, who's been still is one of my big influences in this space. And so I signed up with him at that point, and I can't remember what I did, but it's probably 18 months or maybe 2 years one to one, and did a few men's immersions as well. And it really helped me, and I started to make some money from coaching, and I started to really learn the service based approach, and that felt good. I'd come from when I was building the startup. I was learning all about digital marketing and sales funnels and all this kind of stuff, content, and I was bringing that thinking into growing a coaching business, and it wasn't really sitting well with me. I wasn't enjoying it, and it didn't feel in integrity. It felt quite manipulative. And so when I first spent some time with Anchorage, it was like a breath of fresh air. Really, it was like talk to people and help them and build relationships, basically,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I'm good at anyway, naturally. And I was like, oh right, okay, and it worked for me. And so I worked with him for a while, and then um, a lot of big things happened in my life. I came back here to the UK. I put a lot of focus on helping my sister out, and then went through a very chaotic period with my sister taking her own life, and then my mum basically never recovering from that, and then she ultimately died. And so I had this period of about I don't know, 2.5, maybe 3 years where life just got completely turned upside down, and I didn't really have the energy, to be honest, to focus on growing my business. But my business did exactly what I always wanted it to do, which was allowed me to have some time and location freedom to be able to support my family. That was always the vision for me back when I was working, full-time corporate job,
Yeah.
and tied to a location and things, and it did that for me. And earlier, so the sort of the middle of last year, when I felt like, okay, uh, that chapter of my life is over now, and I felt ready to get back into building my business again. I thought, it would be a good time to get some support. And I've
So
got
this
support.
so
I've,
this
I've
was
had,
almost like a kickstart.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was. It was like I'm ready again to get back to my priority being building my practice, because it
Yeah.
just hadn't been for about 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I was thinking, what do I do? Do I get a one-on-one coach? I'm in a men's group of amazing coaches, so I've already got some great support, but I was ready to invest at a deeper level. And I was thinking about what to do, and I was reflecting on what had happened, and I realized that without me putting really hardly any focus on growing my business, I stayed in business during that time, largely because of renewals and referrals. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, Ankush is the person who really taught me about how that works. And I've been following the AJC school for a little while, and I knew some people who had gone through it in earlier cohorts and seemed to be absolutely thriving, and who were definitely noticeably showing up differently in the world. And so I knew there was something happening that was working for people. And I also really felt like I wanted to be in community again. I remember when I first came out of my corporate life and I went into the startup world, and one of the things that really helped me to make that transition was being involved in communities of people who were all building and who were sharing ideas. And there's just that kind of like collective creative power that comes when you just have a bunch of people together who are all, on a mission to do something. Um, so I was interested in the group aspects of it. And the other piece for me was the bigger vision. Ankush's um, stated intention and mission for the school is that it's raising the consciousness of the planet, and
Yeah.
that is a big statement,
Yeah.
and I'm absolutely on board with that, and I believe it. I think it's needed. It's clearly needed, um, and I do think that the level of work that we're doing, and people who have that kind of intention, and get people who are kind of beyond transactional coaching and who are doing the much deeper work with people, I do see that the positive knock-on impacts in the world are vast.
Yeah.
And that really resonated as well. So it was all of those things together.
Yeah.
And what made me commit was, I talked to Ankush quite a lot, and
Yeah.
I read the brochure probably in May. I remember reading the brochure, downloading it, and reading it. And there were a few ideas in there that really jumped out to me, like dropping your ego, being flexible with your pricing, and filling your practice as a priority. And there were a couple of those two things particularly really stood out to me. And I thought, okay. And I started to experiment with that. And before the school, I was getting some good results and getting some clients signed up. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
I decided. I decided. I think I only decided a week before it started, but I'm very glad that I did.
Yeah. So can you articulate the benefits that you've already had and gained and the effect that it's had on your being?
Yeah. Um, Man, there's loads. I mean, I'm I'm in a. I think there's 40 something, 45 of us maybe.
Yeah,
So
45.
yeah. So it's kind of it's a big group, but it's also small enough that you get to know everybody on some level, which is great. So I love that. There's such a high energy, I think, in the group and in the community. Um, and it's a real mix of people. There are some people in there who have just started or transitioning into coaching and haven't had any paying clients and are getting their first clients. And there are some people in there who are making multi six figures, and there's everything in between. And so that's also a really powerful space. And there's a very clear, explicitly stated intention, is this idea of compassion. We're all learning from each other, and we're all helping each other. So it's like a judgment-free zone. We're all equals in that room.
Yeah.
That in itself, that is an incredible thing. I remember being in there on the first weekend. So it's three live weekends, and a load of stuff in between as well. And that first live weekend, just the feeling in the room, just like the energy and the inspiration and the just kind of collective power and belief in the work, I think is was very, very, very tangible to me.
Yeah.
So that's been huge. Um, it's also been extremely practical, So in the last weekend that we had, it was a very, very practical weekend. We were talking about strategies, very much thinking about specific people that we were either working with or that we wanted to work with. It wasn't just about who we're being in the world. It was, so it's a real mix of kind of inner work and outer work.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the being question, I mean, um, Ankush is he walks his talk, and he's the real deal, and he is a, a great role model for the power of looking at your being, and consciously creating yourself, and being in alignment with that, as are many, many, many people in that room. And that's a really powerful thing. um, for me, the being questions is a big thing. I mean, I'd come across that perspective and that work in, I think, about 2001 through John Patrick Morgan, and had really gone deep into that at that time. Creating a document, and really connecting to that every day, and dealing with judgments and everything that's involved in that. And it really helped me, actually. And I was listening back, I found it the other day. I'd recorded my original document that I made on here from 2001, and I listened back to it the other day, and it's like some of the things that were stated declarations that were quite aspirational at that point. They weren't. I didn't have that much evidence for them. I was becoming it.
Yeah.
So many of them are true now, and I've kind of forgotten about that, because it was when that it was around that time where I had a major family situation to deal with psychosis and suicide and things, and I think I forgot, actually. I think I forgot. I think I kind of lost my way a little bit with the being work, and I didn't prioritize it.
Yeah.
Um, and I was kind of in sort of coping mode and reaction mode, and actually in the last few months since I've been in the AJC, and I've really started to um, look at that again, I realized there's a bunch of judgments that I had created about myself to do with that situation,
Yeah.
that I realize I'm very, get in the way, and that get in the way for me growing my business, and get in the way in a lot of other ways. So I've actually come back to the being work with a sort of a renewed energy and focus, and been kind of recreating myself. That's one of the things I was doing over the Christmas break, and I'm still doing now, kind of
Yeah.
recreating a new document. And that, it's such a
Powerful.
freeing process. It's so freeing, even before you get to any new declarations. Just that getting clear on your judgments, and really being able to be with them, and make peace with them, and forgive yourself. I mean, it's life changing. It really
Yeah.
is.
But
And so that's happening, and I can feel I feel myself showing up differently in conversations. I feel myself being a more of a stand for the work.
and I've
Um,
seen that myself with you.
mm,
We did a session with my men's group,
yeah,
and that was very powerful.
mm,
And it was almost like, for me watching, it was almost like someone switched a light on in your eyes,
mm,
and you held the audience. Suddenly it was like all eyes were on you, and you were in a way, you're almost a different character.
Mm.
Um, how would you say that the AJC has exceeded your expectations, or hasn't it yet?
Um, I'm not sure I had any expectations, to be honest. As in, I didn't really know what to expect.
Right.
The structure and um, kind of what's involved, but I didn't come in with a particular set of expectations. I didn't really know who was going to be in the room. Um, I think it's exceeded my expectations in that um, I think the kind of the caliber of people there is really inspiring. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. Um, Ankish is very different than when I've last actually been in a room with him. I did 3 immersions with him, but all of this is before he was working with Steve Hardison, and he's a different guy. Like he's definitely showing up in a more grounded, more powerful way, and that I wasn't necessarily expecting that. I mean, I've seen that coming through in you know social media presence, but
Yeah.
you never really know till you're in the room with someone. That's been inspiring. I think just the sheer amount of stuff. I don't want to say content because that sort of kind of devalues it. But I
Yeah.
mean, there's laser sessions with everybody, so there will be 40 odd coaching sessions to listen
Yeah.
to, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still working my way through
Just
that.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's always something. There's always
Yeah.
something. If I'm thinking, well, I'm just want to read something or listen to something. There's always something. We've had a bunch of books given to us. There's one that I'm reading at the moment. I wasn't expecting that. So there's kind of like a book club kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit behind schedule with the reading, but uh, we're reading some incredibly powerful books
Yeah.
and sharing insights from that, which is all in support. So I wasn't really expecting that.
Yeah.
The other thing that's been amazing is that so many people in the school are contributing their own thing. So like the interview series that James did, for example, that
Yeah.
that just doing that off his own back.
Yeah.
It's been super helpful. Kai did something like that as well, which I only just discovered by accident on Mighty Networks the other day. Um, there's just a bunch of there's like things that aren't officially part of the school that are um,
But that's part of the
being
sharing and
created.
creating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of like there's an organic um, level of support
Yeah.
that's happening that's beyond
Yeah. And I think
that's beyond
I mentioned to you before. I
the
mean,
curriculum.
I'm in a container with Julian,
Yeah.
and there's 22 of us, and we're about 4.5 months in,
Mm,
and it's just amazing, And these are from people in America, in Australia, Spain, Portugal, France, Sweden. Holland, UK. I mean,
mm,
and well, even Kenya. I mean, there's a lady there that I've been coaching. She wasn't a coach when she joined, but now she's coaching part time. But
mm.
she's now looking at, doing something more permanent on a full-time basis.
Yeah.
And seeing the change in somebody when they're involved in something like that. And you're right, it's that compersion culture. It's the joy you get from somebody else getting that shift and that aha moment is
Mm,
is just amazing.
yeah.
There's another lady in New York that I've been helping, and last week we basically, I did a session with her, and then we did the session with Julian, and she's now committed, to doing a group,
Mm,
um, similar to the group that I've done for men. She's doing it for women going through divorce.
yeah.
And it's that commitment, it's that sharing, it's that, joy you get in seeing somebody else move to the next level,
Mm,
which is just amazing. And
yeah.
that sort of brings me on to my next thing. I mean, everyone listens differently. And, you might come along and do a session and you get for argument's sake, you get 10 bits of gold out of, a session with somebody, and somebody else who's doing the same session might only come away with 1 or 2 bits of gold. Um, can you articulate what the main pearls and gold that you've already gained up to this second weekend with the AJC, and include the first weekend as well? So, what of your major takeaways that you've had so far?
Yeah. Um, well, it's a lot. I think so, some of it's kind of things that we've been explicitly taught. Some of it's my insights, I guess, that have emerged. I think the biggest thing that I got at the beginning was this feeling of simplicity. Like it wasn't about new ideas or new techniques or like adding more in. It really wasn't that. I don't think there was anything that I heard that was necessarily like a radical new idea. It was the opposite, actually. It was almost like the falling away of all the noise, all
Yeah.
the confusion and busy work and all of that kind of thing. And that just had this deep sense of like, I get, I, I see the simplicity in this. We're here to help people. People need help. Some of those people are willing to pay for it. All we've got to do is help people. And through doing that, we will find the people who want to keep talking. And it was like this, it
The
felt
simplicity.
so black and white to me,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
that was more of an energetic thing than anything.
yeah.
That's been super helpful. Um, what I mentioned before about uh, really looking again at who I'm being in the world and doing that in a structured, rigorous, practical way. That has been super helpful and continues to be, and I'm sure will be forever. Actually,
Yeah, yeah,
that's been amazing. Um, I think I think the other thing that's like uh, has emerged for me is a conviction, I think, and um, real belief in the power and the value and the importance of what we're doing. You know, I know for me, like I'm proud of my work, and I have got many examples and stories that I could share that are really amazing things that have happened, that changes that people have made. And yet, I realized quite early on in the school that I haven't necessarily been showing up like that. I haven't been willing to shout about that. I haven't been being a real stand for it. I've probably been a bit apologetic,
yeah.
and kind of playing it down rather than playing it up.
And
Um,
being proud of the work that you do.
yeah,
Yeah,
not because I'm not proud of it, but because I wasn't necessarily expressing that in the world.
yeah,
So that's definitely shifted in me. That feels huge actually for me.
yeah,
Um, and that's not something that's particular to coaching. That's like an aspect of who I've been forever in my life. I've always kind of wanted to stay out of the limelight and not particularly shout about what I've done, or the whole idea
yeah,
of being in the spotlight in any way. As I've never been that comfortable with that. So that
yeah,
for me has been um, that's felt like a big shift, and it continues to shift. Um, there's been some very practical benefits that have helped massively. Just the real clarity of like, you know, this is a business, right? And so being very clear about, for example, tracking all the numbers
yeah,
and doing that publicly. That's actually very humbling, and also very helpful.
yeah,
And doing that and really realizing the sort of essential things. Like I know for me, if I'm talking to about 8 people a week who I'm not in an agreement with, who are a potential, my business will probably take care of itself. That kind of thing has become very clear,
So
much clearer than it.
it's those metrics, the analytics behind how to keep a healthy practice. In reality, it comes down to the numbers of what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the metrics, but also the like I, I've been seeing more and more clearly what are the essential moving parts to this,
yeah.
and it doesn't need to involve social media, or it doesn't
No,
need to involve
no.
speaking or writing or any of these things that people might do to create conversations. It doesn't need to involve networking groups. It can be anything, it can be all of it.
It's
But
wherever you find a conversation.
yeah, like the real simplicity of just seeing, which is so obvious when you've got a spreadsheet in front of you. It's like, okay, that month I had that many conversations, and there were that many
Yeah,
proposals, and there were that many clients, and there
yeah,
was that much
yeah,
money,
yeah,
and that just is sort of obvious in a way, but easy to lose sight of when you're working for yourself, where you are just in it. You're not necessarily got anyone saying, "Hey, what are the sales numbers this week?"
yeah,
Which I always used to have.
yeah,
Working
yeah.
working
But
in sales.
it's important to track those things to see what the impact is over a period of time,
Yeah.
and then that almost dictates what you need to do. It's something I was explaining to somebody. It's like to start with, you have to push the wheel really hard, but once it's up and running, you just need to touch it,
Mm,
once a week, book those calls, move it forward, and you don't have to work hard at it because it's already in motion.
yeah.
How how I
Yeah.
mean,
Can I say one more thing on that?
yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a huge benefit and something that I think, for me anyway, is one of the real benefits of being in a school, um, for this, is that there are a bunch of different people who are doing a bunch of different things and who have come into coaching from different backgrounds and different perspectives, different training, different skill sets, um, and who are helping people in different ways. Some people have got massive social media presence. Some of them don't have hardly any social media presence. Some people are working inside corporations. Some people are doing leadership trainings. Some people are speakers. Some people have written books. Some people are doing relationship work with couples. There's lots of different ways that people are helping people in the world.
Yeah.
And I personally find that really interesting and inspiring because I've experimented with all kinds of different things over the years, and I like doing that. I like having different things to create and make up and bring to the world. And so for me, there's been it's a bit of a melting pot of ideas in terms of where people are putting their focus.
Just because somebody doesn't do what you do doesn't mean what they're doing and how they do it you can't benefit from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And that sort of leads on to my next question, really. It's sort of how does it come across from a learning and content perspective? Um, or is it the being in the school, or is it the teaching, or is it the other people that are in the school? Or is it just all part of that being environment? What is it that really resonates for you doing and being in the school?
It's all of it. It's hard to pull out one of those pieces and say it's only that. Um, yeah, it's all of it together. It's the community, it's the group, it's the structure, it's the various different places we're getting support. We've got mentorship, we've got some time with Anchors. There's all the different laser sessions we can listen to. We've got mentorship groups, there's coaching there. Yeah, so we're getting coached as well. It's the tracking, it's the very practical, what are you going to do today kind of thinking. It's
Yeah.
the deeper being work. I mean, it's hard to say it's so one factor is more important
So
than
it's
the other,
it,
I think.
it it's all of it together, the collective that is creating that difference for you.
Yeah. I mean, I've never
Um,
been in a coaching school before like
Yeah,
that. I've been in group trainings like
yeah, yeah,
NLP training and hypnosis training. I've been in group coaching programs, where the agenda has been to grow a business, but I've never been in a coaching school. Like, never been in something which is kind of um, structured in that way. And it's there's a real power to the process and the structure and the community for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And that sort of brings me on to my next question, which is, very much around, um, and I give myself a bit of grace here insofar as that, and this is more an understanding or a feeling that I've had. So weekend two is has been in the past about recognizing the greatness in ourselves. And how have you recognized this in yourself, and how has that impact on you and your coaching moving forward, do you think?
Um, One of the things that we were invited to do on the very first weekend was to um, fill a notebook with all of the acknowledgements that we are making of ourselves. What am I proud of in any sphere, not just in business, but in life. And I started to do that, and once I was a few pages into that, I started to really get a sense of where I'm at and what I've done, and connecting to my power, to my ability to make a difference in the world, um, to be able to make an impact. And I'll be honest, I definitely lost sight of that. I mean, for me, you know, grieving and particularly losing my sister in that way, I definitely lost sight of that. I had a lot
Yeah.
of guilt and a lot of judgment and a lot of shame, a lot of confusion, questioned everything. So for me to really consciously connect to that as a practice, as something, as a muscle to work, as a reminder, as something um, to connect to, that has definitely had me feel a much deeper level of agency, let's say.
I
Um,
mean, is it fair to say it's giving you a better understanding and provided a platform to move forward with without losing what you've gone through?
yeah, yeah, it's fair to say that. Um, there was an exercise that we did where we created a bio that we then spoke to the room, or to a subset of the room, to a bunch of the other colleagues in there, and that was a really big thing for a lot of people.
Yeah,
It was actually standing up and saying, "Here, this is who I am." I was actually really not looking forward to that. That was playing on my mind all weekend, and then we did it on the last day on the first weekend. But it was so powerful because it was honest. It wasn't like blowing your own trumpet for the sake of blowing your own trumpet. It was
yeah,
true, and
yeah,
and it was actually a really powerful thing to even just to write it. To be honest, I mean, I've written bios loads of times for various things, for speaking engagements
yeah,
and things like that. But there's something powerful about actually standing there and looking a bunch of people in the eye and saying, "This is who I am, and this is what I've done, and this is what's got me here."
yeah,
And it's pretty vulnerable, and
yeah,
that I found that uh, extremely empowering afterwards. At the time, I found it quite uncomfortable actually, and
yeah,
it took
yeah,
quite a lot of energy out of me. But afterwards, I realised the power of that. And then there was something that came up in the second weekend that we did, which was this idea of connecting the dots and connecting the dots for our clients. Because as often people go through massive change and they don't necessarily uh, see all the factors that have been involved. It's
yeah,
just happening to them, and then it's only often in hindsight that you look back and go, "Wow, that person really impacted me, or that decision changed everything, or
yeah,
whatever." And one of the things that we spent some time doing as a practical exercise was thinking about clients who we've worked with or who we're currently working with and who we may work with again, and connecting some dots and actually thinking about what they've done and what's happened and what we know about them and what we think is possible for them.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of renewal conversations coming up, and I was thinking about specific people and where they're at and where they've come from and all the change that they've gone through and just how amazing they are
Yeah.
and what they want to do and where they want to be and what they want to create and
Yeah.
and connecting the dots for myself actually
Yeah. Yeah.
initially,
Yeah.
which was super helpful. But then I've found since then that I've been able to bring that into conversation, and I've felt way more comfortable doing that, being able to look someone in the eye and say, "Here is what I see," and not just to fluff someone up, and kind of
But
misquote them.
that's almost like part of serving is being honest, openly honest with them,
Yeah,
but that maybe a lot of other people aren't,
yeah,
and that's part of serving. Um,
yeah.
and it sort of brings me on to my final question, which is, um, I get a real feeling that with the AJC for 25, 26, that there's a lot more emphasis on building a practice, a business, and more so than Ankush has done in the past. There's a greater propensity of things to help people grow that business and be successful. Um, there's all the learnings behind it, but there's also, at the end of the day, we're all running businesses. Would would you say that that's a fair assessment?
I can't comment on previous cohorts because I haven't, I
Yeah,
don't know enough
yeah,
about what's different compared to the other cohorts. I can definitely say for this cohort that it is absolutely practical and grounded in growing a business, and that everything is in service to that. And not just growing a business for the sake of growing a business for the sake of making a positive impact in the world and contributing to raising the consciousness of the planet. So it's not
yeah,
at odds with
yeah,
that. It's not just, oh, let's talk money. It's not money, 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 but it is very focused on um, what do we need to do, but who do we need to be in order to show up powerfully in the world and create massive impact, which will definitely lead to income.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, but extremely practical.
Excellent. Nathaniel, thank you very much for doing this. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope the questions weren't, I don't say difficult, but or insightful, but hopefully you've enjoyed doing it. And you know, um, thank you again for coming along today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Um,
Excellent.
I think it's I kind of think of doing something like this as connecting the dots. It's helpful. It's actually a really helpful thing to pause and reflect and say, what am I getting from this? And how is it meeting my expectations? And how am I meeting it? I think it's actually an important part of the process. So thanks for the invite.
Excellent. Nathaniel, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
My pleasure.